Alright, your non-resident training course, September 1998. Maybe the series, introduction, ETLA 14188. Distribution for public, distribution for public distribution unlimited. Alright, chapter test equipment administration, miscellaneous, basic meter contest equipment, special application test equipment, oscilloscope and spectrum analyzer, glossary, reference for the development of this Trotman index, credits. Alright, throughout this testing for the course, while you be the technical manager associated with the equipment you will be working with, you will find that below the notations at the end of the paragraph, the notations you emphasize that the safety hazards existing care must be taken observed. Warning, operating procedure, practical conditions which may result in injury, death if it is not carefully observed or followed. Caution, an operation procedure, practical conditions, etc., which may result in the damage to the equipment if not carefully observed or followed. And note any operating procedure, practice, conditions, etc., which is essential to emphasize. Alright, Chapter 1, Test Equipment Administration and Use. Learning Objective. Learning Objectives. Learning Objectives are stated at the beginning of each of the chapter. Learning Objectives serve as the preview of the information you would expect to learn what is chapter. The concept to check for the questions include with the basic objective to be successful completing the NRTC. You indicated that you have the objective to have learned the information. If using the completing the chapter, you should be able to describe the ship's configuration and logistics support information system. Say the difference between calibration and repair. Explain the various calibration status labeled with you by the Navy. List procedure for obtaining the repairs of the test equipment. Describe the describe meteorology automated system with a uniform recall reporting or measure. System purpose of the meteorology equipment recall and reporting card and recall schedule. Describe the major test equipment reference available to you. Explain the purpose and benefits of the testing. State the precautions involved with working with the test equipment. The list of 3 precautions you should observe to avoid damaging electrical measuring instruments. State the procedure for using safety shorting probe. Describe resistant voltage current measures in terms of purpose of the method of the instrument you use. Describe how the capacitance and the inductance are measured. Explain the operation of the bridge measurement unknown resistance capacitances and inductances. Introduction. One of the purposes of the chapter is to acquaint you with the practical use of the test equipment. The presence of the adequate test equipment in your shop is not in itself the cure of all the breaking, the repair of the complex for the electronic equipment. You must know how to best use the equipment available. First, however, you must understand the basic electron theory to be able to apply with the system under repair. Any other purpose of the chapter to introduce the calibration repair procedure with the basic voltage of the current measure that you will also learn how to AC bridge with the precise measurement of the resistant capacity and inductancy. Much of the theory of operation practical application for the basics of the test of instruments use the electrical electronic circuits are found with the instruction book technical manual that accompany the various equipment. You should read and understand these books before you attempt to use any test equipment. You should also know the established safety precautions to ensure that your safety and the safety of the equipment operating procedure to protect the equipment from damage. Alright, the test equipment identification. One of the first things you learn with it as maintenance technician is how to identify the various electronic equipment components of the appropriate nomenclature. You'll find the several methods you identify the test equipment you use, and this may somewhat confusing as you the first. First for example, the Textronic Model 541 oscilloscope can also be identified with the CBTV F1 541A. The Joint Electronics Type Designation System or JETS used in all branches of the military identify the electronic system and the standard nomenclatures. Alright, Electric Test Equipment Classification. Electric Test Equipment Classification Board was established in 1973 to control the increase of the undesirable equipment test equipment is fleet with short activity. The board classified the electronic test equipment with the general purpose of or GP, special purpose or SP. Against the responsibility of management, the items classified with the general purpose are managed by the Space Warfare System Command or SPA Wars SciComm. Alright, it is classified with the space for the special purpose and mode managed by individual systems combined with the generated requirement. The general purpose test equipment is test equipment that is capable with modification generate and modify and measure the range of parameters of the electronic functions required to test 2 or more components of the system and the basic differential design. Or your special purpose equipment testing or SP is specially designed to generate and modify the measurement of the range of the parameters electronic functions of the specific peculiar nature required to test a signal system of the equipment. The special test equipment is produced by a system command that has a responsibility for the system equipment, resulting in the special purpose equipment testing for maintenance. Until ETE classification board established and controlled or the Electronic Test Equipment Classification Board established and controlled increased use of non-standard general purpose electrical testing equipment that has resulted in the loss of the inventory can agree with the support call for the NESEA as the responsibly evaluating request purchase for the general purpose electronic testing equipment for the recommended approval or disapproval of the Navy C. The Navy C will then forward with the final decision originating the command with such request. Ship Configuration Logistics Information Program, or SCLSIS. The Navy must maintain an update with the calibrated with thousands of the piece of equipment. To do this, the Ship Configuration Logistics Support Information System, or SCLSIS program was designed to keep the track with the installed portable equipment in the fleet with the SCLISS, or Ship Configuration Logistics Information System, is used to keep up with the existing location chain with the made with the equipment. The Ship Configuration Logistic Information System program seeks to improve the quality of the equipment reporting, provide information for the need for the other Navy management systems, and reduce the record keeping and design of the assist the Navy supply system for the furnish and spare of the documentation training necessary to support installed portable equipment. Therefore, the inventory assigned to the test equipment on board ship is directly related to the Ship Configuration and Logistics Support Information System. Records. Properly main ship configuration logistics support information systems is also completely inventory with the test equipment on board and quantity, serial number, location. The ship configuration and logistics support information system has two basic elements: one, validation to establish the baseline data inventory, and two, inventory updating to correct errors and emissions and to document configuration changes. Calibration and repair perceive the difference between the terms calibration and repair with the need to be addressed before we proceed with the further. Calibration is a little more than checking, adjusting, systematically aligning the testing instrument to the known standard. To do this, you must ensure the equipment you send to the calibration lab is in working order. Calibration lab is where the actual repair work becomes important. Obvious problems such as open power cords, burned components, broken meters, missing hardware should be repaired and replaced before sending the equipment to the calibration lab. Most calibration labs with which you deal with will be part of the intermediate maintenance activity, or IMA, onboard tender. Calibration status. You determine the calibration staff of the test equipment by checking the calibration label of the tag located on the equipment. The calibration label and tags is advised of the weather and items used within the calibration interval. Tag and label to be used in the meteorology calibration or METCAL coordinated program are listed in following paragraphs. No other calibration labels or tags and are authorized to be placed on the test equipment. Or calibrated label. The calibrated label shown in view A, figure 1.1, have the black lettering, white background, comes in two sides with the most commonly used label of the meteorology calibration program. This label indicates the instrument to which the attaches which is applicable to tolerance on all parameters. If there's any qualifying conditions for either of this instrument, one of those other labels described in the next paragraph should be used. And this shows your tags. You have black on white, black on yellow, special calibration report, red on white, A, B, C, D, E, F, calibration not required, rejected. Black on red, rejected, calibration void, seal broken, black on white. Our calibrated referral report label. The calibrated referral report label is shown in view B with the figure 1 with the lettering the white background and comes in two sides with the most known actual measurement, the visual values to the instrument. Alright, special calibration label. The two special calibration labels shown in the view C with the figure 1 with the black lettering and yellow background. The side of the contents label the different special calibration tag of the view figure 1 view C with the smaller two labels of the tag are U with some unusual special conditions for the calibration should be drawn with your attention. So special conditions made with deviations, usually calibration toleration, multiple calibration intervals, requirements for the in place calibration. Special conditions, the result of the special calibration label should be described in a large label with sufficient space available on the instrument or on the tag with a small label to with a brief description of special conditions provided with the following paragraphs. In this case, you do not require the full instrument capability of the calibration can be performed with the required tolerance to cover the last of the range of the parameter. The approach is often used with the instrument that does not meet with the full calibration tolerance with a certain range of the parameters, but can still meet these user requirements. On the other hand, special calibrations may be higher accuracy than usual with a short-term basis on which your special request. Specific requests, multiple calibration intervals. Some of the instruments with components required with the calibration less frequently than the rest of the instrument. For example, the actuator with a single generator that may require calibration every 12 months, whereas the rest of the instrument parameters should be calibrated every 4 months. Since the actuator calibration at the time system may require the unavailable standards with the multiple interval with the approach that can be saved considerable time, man hours as well, with the permit for more frequent calibration to be performed at a lower level laboratory. When specific instrument that has been designed multiple calibration intervals, such as the information provided with the applicable calibration. Proceed with the calibration label, then tag is denoted with the words multiple interval with the type of the calibration performed and indicate with, for example, partial 1 of 2 or 2 of 2 completion calibration set for some forth. The calibration due to the date reflect with the due date of the next partial and complete calibration. Calibration in place. Some of the instruments should be calibrated in place with the notion on the special calibration lab of the tag will alert you both of the calibration instrument should be not removed but should be calibrated in place. Using a calibration label, some tests measuring equipment TNME should be calibrated with the U instead of the referring with the instrument with the calibration facility. For example, some of the instrument hardened testers, density altimeters, and then provide with your own standard that should be calibrated each time in the U, but at least very frequently some of the interval for the oscillator group graphic recorders may be required calibration before and during after each use. Other automatic testing equipment, or ATE, has self-calibration testing should be performed each of the time, the each of the day. Some still other instruments are calibrated with the part with the checkout procedure performed the daily week recommended with the maintenance log, whether recognized and requirement of their calibration. By user, the calibration interval each usually daily, weekly, every 1,000 hours, every overhaul, or so forth, indicate with the meteorology requirements list. You for the calibration label shown the UT with the figure 1-1 black lettering, white background, affixed with the calibration performed by the user. However, the label does not replace each calibration when the label is first attached to the instrument. If the noted to the appropriate calibration interval record for the calibration performed and any other of the each of the time you. There should be normal maintenance practices that the maintenance log on the maintenance actual forms and so forth. Inactive calibration before use of the label. In the event of individual instrument to do with the recalibration will be not used sometime with the future that may identify with the purpose of the recalibration by affixing the inactive label of the instrument to the instrument as shown in figure 1-1. Inactive calibration before use has been green letter with a white background. Inactive label remains the instrument until the recalibrated. The instrument is not to be used while bearing the label. Calibration not required. The testing and equipment standard for the testing and measurement equipment that does not require calibration shown with the calibration not required with the label shown the UF of the figure 1-1 or orange leather white background is the test should remain in the instrument indefinitely unless the calibration requirements change. If then the instrument is not listed in meteorology list, you should follow the criteria with the place for the instrument in the calibration not required category. Alright, instruments that do not make quantitative measurements do not provide with a quantified output if the device is fail-safe that is operating with beyond the space specified tolerance will apparent to the use of all measurement of the stimulus for the circuit monitor during the calibrated instruments are the dependent with the external known with the calibrated source for the performance with the required limits when determining the instrument failed with the calibration not required with the category. You should note with the label of authority with the decision the meteorology technical name with the letter message for the higher authority. Or rejected, refer to the attached label, tag long label. The event where the instruments fail with the meet, but they accepted for the criteria during the calibration cannot be adequately repaired with the rejection. Refer to the attached lag. The label is placed on the instrument, but the other surface of the label to remove the label is shown the UG with favor 1-1 black letters and red background. In addition to the rejected label, the rejection tag, given the reason for the rejection, other information is required and attached for the instrument both of the lab and the tag will remain with the instrument until the repaired recalibrated instrument is not used while bearing a rejected tag. Calibration void of the seal broken label. If the calibration void of the seal broken label shown in view H of the figure 1-1 has the black letters and white background plate for the over readily accessible, usually exterior adjustment for the preventing tampering by use of such tampering could affect with the calibration. The label should not be used to cover the adjusting of the cover of the part for the normal use of the operation of the instrument. The label may be used to prevent removal the interchange of the plug-in model sub-assemblies and so forth, which when some removal of the interchange will achieve effect with the calibration. Alright, your repair procedure. If unable to replace with the knowledge, fail with the component with the outboard space, you can often locate replacement of the component with the other supplies for the replacement component can be either delivered along with the inoperative equipment to the IMA, so sending with the repaired along with the equipment with the reduce the repair time with the particular true with the using unit going to the underwear, waiting no time available the unit complete with the repair before calibration. Most operation command with a higher supply priority for a purchase of the repair part than IMA can use. No rejects policy. IMA have no reject policies on the test equipment that provide with the operational test equipment more with a timely manner with the no reject policy for the ineffective test equipment submitted for the IMA calibration, which later found the required repair with the repair department of the IMA before the policy equipment found with the inoperative with the calibration label with the mark the rejected the reason stay with the equipment returned with the incalibrated with the ship with the repair with the no reject policy does not relieve the of the responsibility to ensure the equipment is in working order prior to the submitting for calibration, improve the streamline for the procedure of the cut down the delay for the returning of your equipment to your calibrated use and ready to use. Responsibility for repair and maintenance of the test equipment generally the responsibility for the repair and maintenance for the test equipment is placed on the maintenance personnel with some cases however the maintenance personnel will not authorize to make repair of the test instrument must be sent to shore repair calibration facility. When you test the equipment for the calibration repair, all accessories shift for the probe. The adaptive for the calibration sheet should be included. All other emergency special situations should be partial repair. Calibration be attempted to the test equipment to designate with the non-repairable, but such emergency repair should be noted tagged and attached to the unit. Entry made with the measure card that discussed shortly. The equipment should be then sent for the earliest opportunity authorized facility set, so that the permanent repairs can be made until in unit calibrated. Alright, your stowage handling and test equipment, multiple modes of electronic test equipment, the precision equipment, such equipment must be handled with care for the perform the designated function of the rough handling, except for the heat, for the moisture, adjust all of the effect for the useful life of the equipment. Bumping and dropping the test equipment may ruin the calibration of the meter, cause short circuit of the damage to electronic elements for the inside of the case, for the sharp bending of the creases of the dents into the coaxial test cable that can alter the expected attenuation effect, causing false meter readings of the measurements of the forced air cooling of the dust filters, heaters, or even the main purpose of the equipment. Thus, testing equipment requires cleaning airfill with the proper ventilation warm-up here that permits ununits of the equipment to maintain calibrated standards. Electronic test equipment should be stowed at the dry location of the dust cover. If provided to play for the dust cover, the spare plug-in units should be constructed for such source and for easy performing. Mainly for the test equipment should be stowed at the location convenient with the equipment display for the possible relay with the test equipment should be mounted with the equipment space for the reduction problem with the finding adequate storage as space elsewhere. In storage space for the individual maintenance piece for the test equipment should be held within play for the threads for the seat belt with the type strap for the barrel used to hold the equipment and shelf with the bangers knob. The nozzle control knob should be protected by blocking the equipment to prevent the rolling and sliding with this test. For the equipment to large for the storage should be kept with the storage case for the tie down provided with the extricate for the fur storage guideline for the portable test equipment in ABC, the SD000ABGYD010 general purpose equipment testing equipment to determine the adequate storage space and proper weight of the support requirements. Alright, the meteorology automated system for uniform recall reporting or measure. The sake of simplicity will use the more common use the acronym Measure Meteorology Automated System Uniform Recall Reporting instead of the full name to describe the section of the next discussion. Measure the data process for the design of the provided standardized system for the recall for the scheduling, testing, measurement of the diagnostic equipment. And calibration facility. Also provide the documentation data that pertain to the calibration actions performed by these facility. The primary reference document that describe the operating of the measure for the system of meteorology automated system of the uniform recall reporting user manual IOP 43P6A. The chief naval operation oversee the program and establish the policy guidelines. Each naval activity management ensure the test equipment which the assigned primary with the responsibility submitted for the timely basis for the calibration activity of the required calibration and measurement program designed to assist the naval activity full of the measure responsible for the measurement of the provided the automatic scheduling and recall with such tests equipment calibration. Each of the activities submitted the initial interval with the use of the form of the shorn of the form shown figure 1-2 with the meteorology calibration representative for the approval of the meteorology calibration representative. Then forward with the inventory to the measure operation control center. The measure operation control center based on the information contained the Neets inventory reports provide the necessary pre-printed meteorology equipment recall and reporting or meter card and illustrate the measure meter card. This is the illustration of measure TMDF inventory report. Your measure meter card in part with the meter card with the pre-printed information taken with the initial inventory data submitted with the inventory report for it. Together with such update with the data with the most appear with any with the prior meter card with the remaining information required with the entry for the card with the UV the equipment and or calibration activity is appropriate. The meter card is used with the report chain with addition to for the UV the activity inventory but they also use with the report chain with the custody of the item. The test with the procedure for the filling out with the meter card is outlined in the appendix of the meter user manual. The blank of the meter card can be obtained throughout the reasonable meter calibration representative. The computer printout recall with the schedule of the regenerative measure system. The purpose of the printout with the list of those items of the equipment to do the calibration, each for the recall, the schedule the component to set forth identical copies of the one provided with the calibration activity in as an April worked with a workload of the second step of the activity, the recall schedule one sample of product with the format set automatically with the measure operation control center to the user activity the regular basis. Measure MOCC automatically distributed the following product for the user activities intervals. Alright, format 215 unmatched as required interval. Form 310, testing equipment inventory monthly. Figure 350, test equipment inventory sub-custodian order monthly. Form 804, recall schedule for the Untitled equipment monthly. A quarterly replenish card, pre-printed meter card as required, and blank meter cards initial issue. Test equipment reference for the several publications with the information for the German test equipment that require the maintain aboard the ship at the type of the commanders and strict with the requirements of usual found with the inspection check off whether the publication will not required by the directives necessary for the UV in reference for the same material. You'll be able to demonstrate the effect of the test equipment and program. Technicians should become familiar with the publication directive listed within appendix 2 of this model. Introduction of the troubleshooting. Our military force increased the rely on the electronic equipment to perform their mission, but the effectiveness of the tactical force depends on the meaning of the type of electronic system, such as the communication system, the detection system, the fire control system, the reliability of such equipment is determined by the manufacturer. However, the primary factor of the quality of the equipment is in use of able to spare part of the variable ability to maintenance personnel to perform adequate maintenance. The maintenance is work done to correct with the reduce the crowd and aware of the failure of the damage. The equipment maintenance, electronic equipment is divided in two main categories: preventive and corrective maintenance. Preventive maintenance consists of the mechanical, electronic checks to determine whether the equipment is operating properly with the consider of the visual inspection capable equipment damage for the determining lubrication is needed for the corrective the maintenance of the issue. Isolate with the equipment failure with the mouse meaning to tap of the equipment the practice also replace defective parts, realign and readjust the equipment to bring back with the proper performance. Testing and troubleshooting are the required with a greater technical skill of the testing procedure referred to the measuring testing check for the definition of the term of the overlap depending on their use of the result obtained for example the power measurement and the frequency check with the intensity of the test for the operation same radio transmitter. The troubleshooting is a term which we can electronically usually did with what does mean with the troubleshooting sometimes throughout the simple repair of the piece of equipment that will fail to function properly. However, only one part of the picture. Addition with the repair, the troubleshooter must be able to evaluate the equipment performance to evaluate the performance, compare your knowledge of how the equipment should be operated with the way of the actual performing. You must evaluate the equipment both after the repairs are accomplished. Our equipment performance data along with the general information from the various electronic equipment to be able to help you make the comparison of the information provided with the performance standard both for each of the equipment each piece of the equipment illustrate with the particular waveform should be look at the like of the given test point with the amplitude of the voltage should be and so forth with the data aid as you make the intelligent comparison of the current baseline with the operating criteria the specific equipment assigned with the maintenance of the baseline with the initial operating condition with the equipment on installation after overhaul with the operating according to design. Remember the maintenance refers to all action you perform in the equipment to retain with the serviceability of the condition restore with a proper operation involved with the inspection, testing, servicing, repair, rebuilding, and so forth. Proper maintenance that can be performed only by the trained personnel who are thoroughly familiar with the equipment. The familiarity required through the knowledge of the theory operation of the equipment. Logical systematic approach for the troubleshooting up with importance in the performance electronic maintenance of the man hours have been lost with the come with the time consuming the hit or miss offer referred to as an Easter egg method of troubleshooting. Journal test equipment information. All made with the training of the program with one of your most important tasks to learn for the use of the test equipment. All made for the work with it to be effective. The maintenance work you must become familiar with not only with the common type of the measuring instrument, but also the more specialized of the equipment. Some of the example, the common type of the typical measurement instrument, the ammeter, voltmeter, ohmmeter. Example, the specialized test equipment, the spectral analyze the dual trace oscilloscope and the power frequency meter. The test equipment, the safety precaution, electrical measuring instruments include the test equipment, delicate with the construction of the roughly uncertain handling precaution to prevent the damage and ensure the accurate reading. In addition, prevent the injury to personnel to observe the precautions while you the test equipment. You find the list of applicable instruction appendix 2 for this model instrument with the precaution to prevent the damage. Electrical measurement instrument you should observe the precautions relating to the three hazards of the mechanical shock exposure, magnetic field, excessive current flow. Mechanical shock. The instruments contain the permanent magnet meters, the component for the sensitive the shock, heavy vibration, several serve the shock of the instruments to believe their calibration accuracy. The exposure to the strong magnetic field, may be permanently impaired accuracy of the test equipment. The field is main prep for the magnetic efforts of the measurement magnetic move the coil instrument into iron parts for the moving iron parts instrument on the magnetic material to shield the instrument. Except for the current flow, they include the various precautions depending on the type of the instrument, the use of the maximum range scale of the file, the first measurement with the shifting lower of the range scale, after you verify the reading can be made with the lower range. If possible, the connection should be made while the circuit is de-energized. All connections should be checked with the instrument. The instrument will not be overloaded before the circuit is re-energized. Other instruction precautions, the precautions observed to prevent instrument damage include the following. Keep in mind the coil of the water meter, the frequency meter, the power meter, the may be carrying the large quantity of the current even when they are meter pointing on the scale. Even when the meter pointing is on the scale. Never open secondary current transformer. The primary is energized. Never short circuit with the secondary potential transformer. The primary is energized. Never leave an instrument connected with the primary pointer off scale with a deflect with the wrong direction. Ensure the meters and motor circuit that can handle motor starting current that might have the highest 6 to 8 times the normal running current. That never attempt to diminish the internal resistance of the meter movement of the since the movement of the damage the current output of the meter. Never divide the intensity of the control of the oscilloscope with the position that cover the excessively bright spot of the screen. Never permit the sharp focus spot to remain stationary for a period of time. As a result of the burn spots on the face of the cathode tube. Check with the electron tube with the tube test for that separate short test. They'll always make the short test for if the tube is short, but no further test should be made. Before measuring the resistance, always discharge any of the capacitor circuit to be tested. No record any of the points for the not having bleeding resistance for the discharge path of the capacitors. Sorry. Always disconnect voltmeter from the field generator other high inductive circuit before you opening the circuit. The situation error arrived during the testing of William McShane. Dangerous for the personnel. For the example, you may have the oscilloscope plugged within one or separate electrical meter plugged into another, soldering an iron still another. Also using the extension cord for the some of the equipment of that you may use the possible combination for the hazard presented the situation. These include the contact terminal test leads in addition with the core of the test lead, but must be connected with such manner that the material difference exists between the metal cable of the instrument and the potential difference may series of fatal shock. Test leads attached with the excessive equipment possible to extend the back of the instrument away from the observer. If not, path should be clamped with the bench table near the instrument. At times, you may be the instrument location for the vibration present such as the near of the diesel engine. At such time, the instrument should be placed on the pad folded cloth felt with a similar shocking absorbing material. Working on energized circuit. Insofar as the particular should not undertake with the repair work with the energized circuit with the equipment. However, there could be necessary for the should make the adjustment operating in equipment in the excessive case of the other permission for the supervisor of the producer with the work. Can be careful to observe the following safety precautions. Not work alone. Station system near the main switch with the circuit breaker with the equipment that can be immediately de-energized with the case of emergency. Someone qualified with the first aid of the electrical shock should be standby during the entire operation. Should they have the adequate lighting, must be able to see correctly if you are performing the job safely and perform properly. Be sure they insult with the ground, approve of the rubber, the mat layers, and the dry canvas and the wood. Particularly use the hand, then keep it on the other hand, either behind you or in your pocket. And if you expect the voltage of 150 volts with rubber gloves, do not work on any type of electrical apparatus while wearing wet clothing, or if your hands are wet, do not wear loose or flapping clothing. Then the use of thin-soled shoes and shoes with metal plates or hobnails is prohibited. Articles, celluloid cap visors should be not worn. Remove all rings, wristwatches, brackets, similar metal items before working on the equipment. Ensure that the clothing does not include the contain exposed metal fasteners. Shove it as zipper into snaps and buttons and pins. Do not tamper with the interlocking switches. Do not defeat the purpose of shorting them and blocking them open. But ensure the equipment is properly grounded before energize the de-energize the equipment. Attaching the alligator clips to any of the circuit. Use only approved meter of the other indicating device. Check for the presence of the voltage. Observe the following. Proceed with the measuring voltage of the excess of 300 volts. Turn off the power equipment. Short circuit the ground terminal with all of the components. Cable the retaining traffic connected with the meter. Leave at the point of the managed. Remove the terminal ground with previously connected. Turn off the power to observe the voltage reading. Turn off the power. Short circuit the ground. All the components capable of retaining a charge. Disconnect the meter leads on all circuit with the voltage except for the 3 volts with the decks and bulkhead. The workbench for the made with the metal. You should insulate yourself with the accidental grounding by. You can improve the insulating material. The insulating material should have the following qualities. It should be dry without holes. Should not be contained with contaminated materials. Voltage rating, which they should be clearly marked on the material. The proper the material should be used with the adequate protection for the voltage can be supplied. Dry wood may be used as an alternative. Several layer with the dry canvas sheet with the phononic resin or plastic insulating material or suitable rubber mats. Care should be exercised with sure moisture, dust, metal chips, and so forth, which with the collective the insulating material are removed. One small deposit of such materials can become electrical hazard. Insulating material, the machinery, and the air will be kept free with oil, grease, and carbon dust, and so forth. Such deposits destroy insulation. Alright, your safety shorting probe. The responsibility shorting probe is shown figure 1.4 with the proof of the shorting probe is shown with the Navy C 0977 LP 00000100 EIMB General Section 3. So the approximately 25 to 3.25 inch long probe, approximately 5 inches short probe. Caution representing the safety short probe. Caution. Capacity of the cathode tubes may retain with the charge for the considerable period of time, having to disconnect with the power source, but also assume the voltage prep of the work when the circuit is have the high capacity. You have even one of the circuit with a disconnect with the power source. For the proof of the type of the short probe, it should be with the discharge capacitors, cathode tubes individually. When using a short safety shorting probe, they'll always be shown the sure that first connect with the test with the good ground with the necessary scrape off the plane with the ground metal with the make with good contact with the hole with the shape of the shorting probe with the insulator of the hand with the touch of the probe with the shorting rod to the point may be shorted out. The probe end with the fashion so that they can be hooked over the part of the terminal to provide with the constant connection with the weight of the handle alone. They always take with the care not to touch any of the metal with the parts of the safety short probe while touching the probe to explode with the hot terminal. It pays to be safe when using the safety short probe with care. Some of the equipment are provided with the walk-around short device with the fixed ground stud and permanently attached to the ground routes. When in this case, the walking-around shorting device should be used rather than shorting probe. Working on de-energized circuit when the electronic equipment is to be repaired. Overall, certain general safety precautions should be observed. They are as follows. Remember, the electronic circuits are often more than have the one source of the power. The time start with the schematic with the wire diagrams entire system to ensure that all the sources of that power have been disconnected. Important information from the remote station regarding the circuit which will be performed. Use one hand when turning switches on and off. Safety device interlocking overload relays. Fuses should never be altered with the disconnect except for the replay condition should never be changed with the modified with any of the way with specific authorization. Fuses should be removed with the replay with any of the circuit they had the energized with the fuse with the below of the replacement should be used with the same type of the same current with the voltage rating with the first view with the polar should be used with the remove the replay for the cartridge fuses. All circuit players switch for the power that could be possible to supply with the sugar with the lock possible with the open and off safe position danger tag within accordance with the procedure standard organization regulation of the U.S. Navy. The Navy is 31-20-32. After the work has been completed, the tags should be removed only by the same person who signed them when the working began. With the keep the clothing, hand, and feet of the driver with all possible when working the work, and then wet and damp. Locate for the blade for the rubber mat over the non-conductive material for the type of the wooden on top of the dry wooden platform stool with the platform stool with the sit on stand on with the insulated tools and insulated flashlights model type of which you require to work on the exploded part. Grounding power tools and equipment. The possibility of electrical shock could be reduced by ensuring all the motor and general frame of the metal base for the other structural of the electrical and electronic equipment or ground potential. Normally only steel hull vessels such for the ground and inherent provided they come with the metal cave of the frame, but the equipment for the contact with one of the metal surface of the vessel and some of the stuff of the inherent ground but not provided with the mounting arrangements such as the equipment is supported with the shock mount with the suitable ground connection must be provided with the ground wire with the purpose of the general made with the flexible material, copper or aluminum, provided the sufficient current carrying capacity to ensure the effect of the ground is in the manner with the equipment case of the frame but not intended above the ground potential the effect of the ground also possible electrical shock personnel coming into contact with the metal part of the equipment that minimize the second purpose of the ground and equipment that improve the operation of the continuity of the service of all of the equipment. Paint, grease, and other form material can interfere with the positive metal contact of the ground connection point. They are also all the bond material the surface of the connection point with the metallic junctions must be securely fastened free of such material. All instances where the equipment grounding is provided with a certain general precautions to prevent maintenance measures should must be taken into. These precautions are listed below. Periodic cleaning of all the strap clamps with the connected to ensure that the direct metal to metal contacts are free with the form material. Check all the mounting hardware with the metallic mechanical failure or loose connections. Please any of the faulty resulted otherwise unfit grounding strap with the sling clamp connection component between the equipment ground and the ship hole. When replacing the part with the good connection, make sure that the metallic contacts over the clean the electrical continuity is reestablished after completing the foregoing steps. Recheck to be sure that the connections are securely fast for the correcting mounting hardware when the paint with the ground strap and the however the corners for the current procedure. Because of electrical shock hazard could be the encounter with the blower, the ship the blow with the plugs and convenience outlets. You with the portable equipment, the power tool with normally you with the 3-prong with the type of the plug with the outlet with the key with the most plug with the must be correct position before it can be inserted with the receptacle. Ensure the safety factor to incorporate with the device are insertable condition within safe for the that must be performed the following precaution in the inspection. Inspect the pins of the plug with the sheave that they're firmly pivot not been damaged. Clean the wire terminal for the connection with the plug with the loose connection frayed wire with the plug surface that must be corrected with any form material removed from the plug when inserted into the receptacle. Use material to ensure the ground pin is resistant less than 1 ohm. Equipment the ground, but do not attempt the insert of the ground type with the plug with the grounded receptacle without first aligning the plug properly. Caution: never use the power tool with a piece of the total test equipment unless that you are absolutely sure the equipment is properly grounded and connected conductor. Are your basic measurements. Electronic measurements involve the fundamental electrical quantities, voltage, current, the linear, the character of the resistance, capacity, inductancy, and voltage, current, depending on the resistance, capacity, inductance of the distribution. Therefore, the voltage, current measurement of the variable A to determine the circuit, the condition of the and for the evaluation system. Practically any of the reading of the use of the test equipment that depend on the measure being measured resistance, capacity, inductancy.